Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our second MET Masterclass, where we will be talking about speaking task two. And good evening, Philip. Thank you for joining us all.
Of course, and always a pleasure.
It's very nice to see you as always. So thank you everyone for spending a bit of time with us today as we dive really deeply into each of the MET tasks. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about task two. So the plan for this morning or this evening is to give you another quick overview of what's involved in MET speaking, which is the final section of the Michigan English test. And then we're going to look specifically at task two. We'll give you an example task and we'll look at some different ways that you can respond to task two. And I think we really want to help you see how you can go from, just a regular answer and really improve it and work on it to get a really, really strong answer. So you'll have some time to practice yourselves and we'll give you some examples and tips as well. Philip, did you want to add anything before we get started?
Only that I hope that everyone who's joining us now would actually make a sincere effort to give their own answers to the samples that we would be giving. It's always better when you give it a go yourself.
Yes, absolutely. This is a master class. So please do get involved. You can ask us any questions that come up while you're watching in the chat or the Q&A feature, and we'll try to get to answer those as we go. And I hope we will have some time for questions at the end as well. Some of you asked questions in the registration, so if they're not answered during the session, we should have time at the end. If you joined us last week, I know we ran out of time. We had to go quite quickly through. So we'll try and stick to the time a little better this time. And yes, Philip, questions are great. So please don't be shy. Ask us anything you like about MET speaking. Um, so if you're joining us, you probably already know MET is a multi-level digital English certification. It's taken on the computer. Um, I know many of you are joining us from the Philippines, and we have many test centers in the Philippines. So you can check our website, michiganassessment.org, if you'd like more of the background information. But for today, I think I'd like to dive straight into the speaking section. So let's take a look. A quick reminder, MET speaking is the final part of MET. It is fully digital, so you will see and hear the questions on your screen, and you then record your responses automatically. There are 5 tasks divided into part one and part two, and it lasts for around 10 minutes. And in part one, tasks one, two, and three, all of the questions are related to the picture that you describe in task one. So today we're talking about task two, where test takers are asked to talk about a personal experience that is in some way related to the image. So it will be on a similar topic, where you'll be asked to talk about something that you have experienced yourself. This is just a breakdown. We said last time, I think, take a quick screenshot if you want to. This is also the practice task that you can see in one of our videos online. This is how speaking is rated. Philip, did you want to just give a very quick, as the expert in teaching everything speaking?
Most certainly, Emily. There are three things that our examiners look at: our raters, task completion, language resources, and intelligibility and delivery. Tonight, we would be focusing on the first two, task completion and language resources, because the third one, intelligibility and delivery, assess how understandable your speech is, depending on how you form words, your pronunciation, your accent, whether your questions sound like questions, and all of those other things. Task completion and language resources, though. Task completion is, did you give sufficient detail to respond fully to the task? Did you give relevant detail and not off, and you didn't go off topic? Language resources assesses how broad your vocabulary is and how the complexity of the grammatical structures that you use. And if, as Emily suggested earlier, if you're interested in the finer details, please do take a screenshot and zoom in on the right part, which show the public facing rubric that our raters use so that you could see exactly how you can get a higher score in these four criteria. The ninth, task completion and language resources.
Yes, absolutely. If you want to download the scale so you've got your own copy, which I really, really recommend, it is available to download at michiganassessment.org. Anytime you practice your speaking, it's always a good idea to look at this rubric, keep it in mind so that you're making sure you're hitting all of those top scores in each category so you can maximize your score. Let's move into the task. So this is what we looked at last week. We're not going to ask you to describe the picture again. If you didn't catch our webinar last week, this is the task that we practiced with. And I just wanted to include it today so you can see how the next question is related. So this task was to describe the street that you can see, talk about the image. And task 2 for today is tell me about when you traveled to a new town. You have 60 seconds to talk. You should say as much as you can. Begin speaking now. And as with last week, I think we'd like to give you an opportunity to practice. So without any advice from us, we're going to start the timer. You've got 60 seconds. Just have a go. Start speaking. What would you say if this was your question in MET? Oh, you are muted. So just have a go. We can't hear you. So don't be shy.
And that's 1 minute. So it's important to realize that in the exam, that's what it feels like. It is shorter than what you may initially think. And it's important to keep your eyes on the screen as well, so that you don't go staring off into the distance and you lose track of how few seconds you have left. So how was it? So did you find it easy to tell a story about when you last traveled to a new town? Did you have any difficulties remembering or recalling when you last experienced something? Were you able to string the details that you brainstormed together? Did you repeat vocabulary? Did you come up with new ways of saying the same thing? So how rich were the descriptions that you were able to get? Did you tell a story from one part to the next part to the next part, maybe? You told something that was chronologically arranged. So there are various ways of doing it. And in the next part, I believe Emily and I would be looking at different responses on how it could have been. Try to take a look how similar these responses were and how different they were compared to what.
Yes, exactly. We're going to look at some different ways you could respond now and how to build on an answer. So we'll start with a base and then we'll improve on it each time. And we would love to hear your feedback on what you think of the example answers, how it compared to what you said, and what suggestions you would have to improve it. And as Philip said very eloquently there, um, you can approach the answer in different ways. You could tell a specific story of a visit, maybe something interesting happened during your trip to a new town, or maybe you just want to talk about somewhere that you really liked. Maybe you went on a vacation somewhere and just want to describe the whole vacation, or describe a specific experience, or something else entirely. It's very open. You don't have to have lots of specialized knowledge about anything. It just relies on you being able to talk about your own past experience in some way related to the image. So let's take a look. Here we go. So this is one way you could approach the answer. It's just for illustrative purposes only. Philip, shall I read this one and you read the next one?
Certainly, that sounds like a good plan.
All right. So, in this answer, I went to Ann Arbor last summer. I went with my family. My family has four people: my mum, my dad, my sister, and me. We went there for our vacation. It is a nice place. There are many things to do there. We went to the museum, we went to the river, and we saw many flowers and plants at the gardens there. We ate nice food in some restaurants and saw many things. I had a lot of fun there. So, what are our thoughts? Please let us know in the chat. What do you think about this answer? Remember, task completion, is it relevant? Has it got lots of detail? Language resources, has it got a lot of grammatical errors? Does it use sophisticated vocabulary? And how complex are the structures shown in this response? So, what do you think? Philip, what do you think?
Hmm. Oh, thank you, Emily. I think that the details, I would agree with what Marigold Romero said, that these seem to be simple sentences. They're concise, they're straight to the point, they're not that long, with the exception of the second to the last, okay, joke, the third to the last sentence, where it was pretty lengthy, but not bad. I also agree with Marisa Manlapas. It's complete, yet very simply put. It's on topic. It didn't, it followed, it elaborated on the keywords. And Maria Susan Torres also reiterates these are simple sentences. It sounds like a bullet point. It sounds like bullet points rather. They're checking things off, and little elaboration is, but no grammatical errors to my in my eyes. I think I don't see any. If there are, please do let me know. But I see some good words. I see museum. I see flowers. I see Ann Arbor. I guess I'm not sure where that is, but where that is. But river is not. But pretty simple, but concise and answers the question. What do you think, Emily?
I agree. And thank you everyone who responded. Yeah, absolutely. It's very simple. It is on topic mostly. There is it veers off a little, starts talking about the family, um, listing all the people in the family, which isn't really on topic. Could be better integrated, could be it could be made to be relevant, but as it is right now, it's not super relevant. It's very short. There's not a lot of detail. It doesn't really give an opportunity to show off speaking skills and language skills. It's more of a list, like Philip said. It's more like bullet points. Um, so let's see how it could be improved. If you want to read the next one, Philip.
I would. And here I go. Last summer, I visited Ann Arbor in Michigan. I had never been there before. I traveled with my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister. We went there for our vacation, and I think it's a really nice place. There are a lot of activities to do. For example, we went to a museum, spent some time by the river, and enjoyed walking around the gardens where we saw many beautiful flowers and plants. We also tried some tasty food at different restaurants. Overall, I had a great time and really enjoyed it. What's different in your mind when you compare it to the first model lens? Yes, thank you, Riley. What are your thoughts? Let us know your thoughts.
So this one you can see the information is the same. It's telling us those same bullet points, the same place, the same situation, the same activities, but how is it expressed differently? What makes this one hopefully a little better than the first?
Marissa Manlapa says, I was drawn to her story with the way she described and expressed. Me? Okay. Very impressive, different vocabulary. Rose de Liepre says. Uh, it seems to be a more vivid response based on what you said. And different vocabulary. What vocabulary is different? It has more details this time, Cecile Benedicto says. Does it? Does it have more details? Ah, if there are more details or if there are different vocabulary, can you point them out? Hmm.
One thing I would like to highlight is the synonyms. In the first one, it was we went, we went, we went. Each time it was using the same words, whereas in this one, it does say we went there, but then we went to a museum. We spent some time. Here we go. It's highlighted. Um, we spent some time. We enjoyed walking. We saw flowers. We tried some food. So it's still, it's not the most sophisticated vocabulary, but that use of synonyms makes it more descriptive, adds to somebody in the comments said narrative, like there is more of a narrative here. It's the sentences are connected and there's more variety in the vocabulary. So it makes it a bit more interesting and a bit more, there's a bit more elaboration. So we saw many beautiful flowers and plants, not just we went to the gardens. Sorry about
So
the
the
yell.
more,
Not
I think it's great contrast. It's very readable.
okay.
I suspect there's a third one. Uh,
You suspect correctly. Let's see how we could take this even further. So I love the comments. They were very positive. Like you can see the difference between this one and the first one, but there's still room for improvement, right? We can make this better. We've still got the added bit about traveling with family and then listing the family members again. I we could integrate that even further. We can elaborate on this. We can make this even better to get that higher score. So here we go. You can see it's longer already. Filling that seconds with as much language as possible, which is definitely advised. Um, who's going to read this one?
I think it's your turn.
Okay. Last summer, I had the opportunity to visit Ann Arbor, a town in Michigan, with my family for the first time. We chose Ann Arbor as our vacation destination because of its vibrant cultural scene and natural beauty. During our stay, we explored an impressive museum, strolled along the peaceful riverbanks, and wandered through lush gardens filled with an array of fascinating flowers and unusual plants. We also dined at several excellent restaurants where I was able to try dishes I hadn't tasted before. The variety of experiences Ann Arbor offered, from cultural activities to outdoor adventures, made the trip truly memorable and thoroughly enjoyable. I am excited to return there next summer.
Wow.
This makes Ann Arbor sound lovely. Ann Arbor is where Michigan Language Assessment are based, in case you weren't sure. It is a town in Michigan. Um, and yeah, what makes this response the best of the three? What can we say about
Marissa, Marissa says more vocabulary, complex sentences. It is a great story. Hmm. As Emily said, it makes Ann Arbor sound lovely. I wonder if it truly is. Based
it?
on the
Truly is.
okay. All
This
right. The
is all
fans
true.
Rose says a lot of fancy words and more complex. Fancy words. I like that word. Some words are fancy. When was the last time that you heard the word lush used in a sentence? Or perhaps array? Ooh, array. I mean,
You don't
if you're,
you don't have to sound like a dictionary when you're completing MET speaking, but it is a good idea to use some
hmm,
fancy words if you can. I like the word fancy as well.
yeah,
Um, better than sophisticated. But the more interesting vocabulary, the more adjectives, the more vivid verbs you can use that give you more information than just I went somewhere or I did something. Using more descriptive vocabulary will really help enhance your response and show that you have this wide, broad range of vocabulary, and longer, complex sentences will help make it sound more cohesive.
hmm,
And again, will show your range of grammar that you have stored up here and can use accurately in English. And that's going to boost your score.
definitely. The and in addition to that, thank you very much. So I was going to point out the wonderful vocabulary, and it is helpfully highlighted in yellow over here. You see vibrant cultural scene, natural beauty, explored, impressive, strolled, peaceful riverbanks. Who uses riverbanks? You use riverbanks, which would make it lovely for the examiners to hear. Now, as Emily mentioned, it's good for you to use vivid verbs. I love how she put that, but you need to know how to use them correctly. So it's not as if you're going to deploy and um, so many archaic words just because they sound fancy or sophisticated. You need to be quite sure of what they mean because these words are quite precise. River, for example, river banks, for example, is not exactly the same as river. Um, vibrant is not exactly the same as exciting, for instance. So um, part of doing well in speaking is having more options of what words to choose from and being confident in using them because you know precisely what they are trying to say.
100% agree. Yes. Don't try to fit don't try to have a list of words in your head that you want to get into your response, because then it can end up sounding slightly off and it might not fit the context. And we actually had some questions about this, so we can get into that in a moment. I just want to give you one more opportunity, 60 more seconds, where Philip and I will sit quietly. And we'd love you to have a go again. See how you can improve on your first attempt. So you tried this already about 20 minutes ago. Now you've heard three different examples and hopefully got some ideas about how you could respond. And we'd love you to try it again. You are muted, so we can't hear you. But have another go. I'll start the timer and then let us know in the chat. How did you do? Was it better? Was it easier? Hopefully, yes.
And that's 1 minute. How was it? Was your attempt better than the first one that you did 20 minutes ago? Now that you have a better idea of how much elaboration, how what kind of vocabulary and grammar would be beneficial for you to get a good grade? How would you describe your latest response? Let us. Rose says better, but I didn't finish. Eh, I'm sure that if you have an hour, you'd have a lot of time to talk about everything. Some people like telling stories. I know I do. I think Emily does too. But the point is to maximize the 1 minute to get as much language in those 60 seconds as possible.
Yes, you'll have 90 seconds on the later tasks. So if you like telling stories, that's your opportunity to uh, really get talking. 60 seconds, it can go quite quickly. So when you're preparing for taking MET, make sure you practice with a timer so you understand. Some people speak quickly, some people speak more slowly. So 60 seconds, it's really important that you practice how long that really is and how much typically you're able to say. So you're not thinking having this huge long list of things you want to cram into that time. So then you're rushing and maybe not being quite as accurate. Make sure you practice the timing so you have an idea of roughly how much you would usually say. Um, and Rose, you said you tried to remember some of the vocabulary, but it takes too much time to remember those words. Absolutely. So that's why it's important not to have a list of words that you plan to use in your head. It's going to come naturally. The more you practice using more descriptive vocabulary, more fancy words, then the easier it's going to get for you in the test. Speaking of preparation, let's look at some quick suggestions of things you can do while you're preparing. Um, so something I suggest is to try keeping a video journal where every day you just spend 60 seconds talking about your day. What happened? What did you do? Who did you see? Where did you go? How did you feel? And just practice describing your day every day because one of the questions in MET speaking will always ask you about past experiences. So get used to describing your experiences in the past. What happened? You could share it with someone who speaks English to get feedback. Maybe you're studying with 9.09er and you want to get some advice from Philip on your speaking. Or maybe you have friends who speak English really well and share your videos. Have them make their own video and you can give feedback to them so you can help each other. And kind of similarly, just practice storytelling. Philip was talking about telling a story and building the narrative. So practice doing that. You can just start off by answering who, what, how, when, and where, and why questions as a quick way of getting started. Like, who were you with? What were you doing? How were you doing it? When was it? Where were you? And why was it happening? That can just be a good starting point when you're trying to get ideas. And then being descriptive. We already talked about this a lot, so I'm going to move on to connecting details. Philip, do you have any advice about connecting these details together to form this sort of narrative sequence?
Conjunctions are your best friend. Conjunctions are the part of English that precisely perform this function, which show the relationship of different ideas to one another. It's a rich topic for study, exploration. Ideas can be connected. Maybe they're contrasting. Maybe there's a cause and effect relationship to them. Maybe there's a chronological relationship. They're complementary. It's fascinating. And the more comfortable you are with deploying, with using conjunctions, the easier it would be for you to connect the dots in your head in order to create a smooth narrative, as Emily explained to us just a while.
Thank you. And we're up to our time limit, so I just wanted to um come to these questions very, very quickly. There are a couple that I would like to address. Are there any templates for answering each speaking task? No, and we recommend you do not try to memorize a template. Why is that, Philip?
Because if you memorize templates, one, examiners will be able to catch you memorizing templates, and two, it would sound inauthentic. That is not what the exam is trying to get from you. And finally, if you cannot anticipate ahead of time what questions you will be given in the exam. So if you use a template, then your response would probably be grossly off topic and therefore a failure of communication in the real world and in the end. So a dangerous strategy to use. It's self-defeating. It does more harm than good. Please do not use them.
Absolutely, could not have said it better myself. The required passing score for each test, MET does not have a pass or a fail, a passing score. However, each institution, wherever you're planning to use MET and your results, may have their own requirements of a minimum score. For example, many of you are working in the healthcare profession. True Merit, formerly CGFNS, require a 55 in the speaking section and a 55 overall score. So keep in mind wherever you're planning to use MET, that will determine the score that you need. So check when you're applying. Preparation time, 2 to 3 weeks can be enough for many people if you're already at a B2 level. If you're confident in your skills, if you have more time, it's always better to spend more time preparing. Check out 9.09er for their classes because they will help you go through all areas of the test and really get ready so you can get that score that you need. And the type or style of questions the same. We showed you at the start how the speaking test goes. You'll have describe a picture, you'll have talk about an experience, give a personal opinion. Those things will be the same, but the topics will always be different. And no, the questions are not necessarily about your profession. It as whoever asked this question, I love this. Anything under the sun, fabulous expression. Um, it can be topics on personal topics, so something within the home. It could be public, for example, in a public space like visiting a public town. It could be something to do with education, so in school or college, or it could be occupational, like working in an office, something like that. It won't be occupation specific. So you need to practice all types of communication or language in your preparation. Um, Philip, do you have anything else to add before we
Only
close?
that the only thing that there are 5 questions in speaking. Result Hochstab, and this will be true uh, wherever you take the exam and whenever you take the test. Together with Emily, we would like to thank you for your time today, and hopefully you would join us in the succeeding weeks where we discuss the different parts of not only speaking but the rest of the subtests. And the upcoming webinars are here. You see the schedule, and I believe after this webinar you would be sent an email where you could conveniently register for the succeeding session. We look forward to working with you again next week. Hopefully you have time for that, and I'm excited for it.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your comments, your questions. Thank you, Philip, for sharing all of your expertise and advice. I appreciate it. I'm sure our audience appreciate it too. So hopefully we'll see you next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
Here.